Welcome to How You Livin', a transformative podcast featuring best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and minister, Dr. Rick Rigsby. And now, Dr. Rick.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to discuss the value of servanthood. Servanthood. I believe that servanthood is truly the first step to leadership. That quote comes from the great John Maxwell. The first step to leadership is servanthood. But I also think that there's a practical dimension that will grow us as an individual when we consider the benefit to a community, to a family, the benefit to another of being a servant. Let's talk about that for a while. Serving others builds strong communities. Community, defined as your family, your home, your neighborhood, your place of worship, even your job. Community is built as you share life with others. And when you serve others, when you offer a helping hand, you're making connections with people. You're pulling in the same direction, committed to the same goal. The goal often is to meet a need, or to improve the condition of something, or to improve the condition of someone. Therefore, servanthood is the foundation on which a community is built. Servanthood is the glue that holds a community together, which decreases loneliness and social isolation, two of the big challenges today that threaten our mental health. I want you to imagine for a moment, friends, just imagine no volunteers to support any organizations. Imagine eliminating all the helpers from all of the organizations, from hospitals and schools to community groups. How about removing the workers from churches and service organizations? Service to others benefits everyone because service to others strengthens everyone. Oh, I learned this at a young age. I had World War II era parents, folks who grew up in the country with that country work ethic and a strong commitment to serve others. We didn't have a choice. You can imagine what it meant for us kids having parents like this. We had to serve. We had to help. And we had to have a good attitude about it. And trust me, as a child growing up, I just didn't see the benefits. However, today, I clearly see what my parents were instilling in us. That earlier generation was teaching all of us to come on later. They were teaching us that the greatest thing that we could do is to help people. That the greatest thing we can do is to literally reach down and lift another person up. Serving others is one of the best ways to make a difference in someone's life. And when lives are changed, communities are transformed. In Great Britain, just as an example, they've got something called the Big Help Out. In 2023, this annual event capped off all the coronation festivities for the newly crowned King Charles. Hundreds of thousands of Brits turned out to support their favorite charities, 1,500 charities in all. These volunteers included people from every walk of life, from celebrities to politicians, scouts, to those representing various faith groups. Everyone who wanted to volunteer had an opportunity. The event draws attention to the impact volunteering has on communities, while encouraging people to become volunteers as a way of leaving a legacy. Back in the United States, in fact, in the community where I currently reside, tragedy visited our town recently. 8 people were gunned down, several injured in a mass shooting at an outlet mall in Allen, Texas. My heart is heavy for the families whose lives have been shattered and will never be the same. And at the same time, my spirits are lifted as I'm watching our community comfort the living, volunteering in the midst of pain and suffering. While working on this particular podcast episode, the local news is playing in the background, and I was stopped by this one story. Volunteers from throughout our town have stepped up in unique ways. My favorite is the Lutheran Church Charities, an organization I'd never heard of. They showed up at the murder site with several comfort dogs on hand to help people grieve. Friends, I want to tell you, no matter what the situation, regardless of the circumstances, volunteers are always needed. Spirit of volunteerism began in the United States. That same spirit keeps us moving forward. The benefits of servanthood are seismic. They're huge, and yet so simple. Anyone can offer a helping hand because there's always a need. Rarely is there a traffic jam on a service road. We all need a helping hand from time to time. Everyone needs a shoulder to stand on. And while serving others is of great value to a community, the individual benefits as well. Servanthood, you see, is a powerful virtue. It's a fundamental virtue. Virtue is conformity to a standard of right, one possessing the strength and the courage to do what is right in every instance, regardless of the cost. So when we serve others, everyone wins. Our practical service helps those who need help the most. Our virtuous service reinforces the values that we govern our lives by, the values that we believe in. And also when we serve others, the spotlight shines on the need and not on us. I think this is a huge benefit to the individual, and I have a little bit of experience with regard to this. You see, back in 1996, during a very dark period in my life, I was struggling. I had lost my wife to breast cancer. I had 2 little children, and I was stuck. I was grieving. I chose to be isolated. I chose loneliness. I felt all alone. I was overwhelmed with despair. I remember in those months following, someone on an occasion knocked on my front door, rang the doorbell. But by the time I got to the front door, there was no one there. They had taken off. All that was left on the stoop were bags of groceries. I didn't see anybody. I was grateful. I was thankful, but I didn't know who had dropped the groceries off. It wasn't until months later that it dawned on me. Still grieving, still stuck, that episode replayed in my mind. So I decided, for whatever reason, I'm going to pay it forward. To my shock, to my amazement, I discovered something rather profound. First, I discovered a joy in helping others. All I did was buy some groceries, drop them off at a neighbor's door, and leave before I could be identified. The joy I had in my heart was overwhelming. And friends, I had not experienced joy in months. Second, I was out in the community. I had to go to the grocery store. I had to interact with people. I was outside of my home, not isolated, not insulated. I had chose to just block myself off, to just cordon myself off for months. But offering help to a neighbor encouraged me to free myself from the chains of isolation. But the third benefit was probably the most profound. Helping someone else took the focus off me. It took the focus off my pain. It took the focus off my grief. Friends, what I discovered in one simple act, right in the middle of my suffering, right in the middle of my pain, right in the middle of my despair, even in the middle of my depression, was this: serving others was a catalyst for restoring my joy, for arresting my isolation, for focusing on others and not on myself. I want to talk more about this in an upcoming episode, so stay tuned. But for now, I just want you to think about that John Maxwell quote as we consider helping others. John Maxwell said on one occasion, "The first step to leadership is servanthood." Oh, friends, just offering a helping hand can make a difference in somebody's life, which in turn can transform a community, and all the benefit that you will receive by being a servant. It's seismic. It can be the catalyst for even greater things and your very first step toward being an even more effective leader. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Rick asking the most important question I can ask. How you living?
Are you ready to make an impact in your world right now? Do you want to stop existing and start living your best life right now? Dr. Rick wants to give you the first chapter of his best-selling book, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout, absolutely free. Just go to www.rickrigsby.com/free gift to get the print or audiobook right now.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.